Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NinjaTrader Ecosystem webinar room. My name is Juanita Archuleta, and I work for NinjaTrader here in our Denver office. We have a very special event for you today with Phil of Lucrum Trading Systems. I would like to mention it is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodity futures contracts and Forex. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you and will depend on your specific circumstances and financial resources. It is possible to lose all funds deposited with your broker and could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire at the following link for a full copy of the CFTC risk disclosure, or if you have any additional questions regarding the CFTC risk disclosure. This presentation is presented by NinjaTrader LLC, which is the technology company responsible for developing and supporting the NinjaTrader trading software. Any brokerage-related questions should be sent directly to our brokerage team using the phone number and email address that I just added in the room. With new tools added nearly every day, NinjaTrader Ecosystem is home to hundreds of apps and services. You can quickly and easily find the tools or services you're looking for with a simple keyword search. You'll also find information about upcoming webinars in an on-demand video archive to view previous recorded events using the link I just provided. Also, if you are new to NinjaTrader and you're active on social media, we would recommend that you follow us on both Facebook and Twitter to get live daily updates of all things NinjaTrader ecosystem. NinjaTrader is always free for advanced charting, strategy backtesting, and trade simulation. To ensure you are on the latest version of NinjaTrader and pick up a live free data trial, please use the following link. You are also welcome to purchase or lease NinjaTrader using the following link. And if you are just getting started with NinjaTrader, we offer free live training on a daily basis. You can view a schedule of upcoming webinars using the following link. We're very excited for this unique event in which Phil will demonstrate Lucrum Trading System's flagship system, Ruby, and discover actionable trading signals in a rule-based system. Thank you again for your attendance, and without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome to the room Phil. Phil, go ahead and take it away.
Hey everybody, welcome and thank you for joining me here today. My name is Phil Antonson. Special thank you to Juanita and NinjaTrader for hosting this event for me. And thank you all for attending and joining me so I can share with you guys the Ruby trading system. I see a few familiar faces in the list of attendees. So this might be a little bit of a recap for you guys, but hopefully there's something that you guys can take away today as well. So today what we will cover is we will be doing a snapshot of the Ruby system as well as its features and functions. And we'll do a quick introduction to SharkIndicators BloodHound and Blackbird software as well. And we'll look at the usable outputs that Ruby has when using BloodHound. And then we'll take those to build a basic strategy using both BloodHound and Ruby. We'll then look to integrate our BloodHound strategy with Blackbird and Raven, which is BloodHound's strategy analyzer component. And at the very end of this, we will have one lucky attendee win a free lifetime license of the Ruby system. It'll be a pseudo-random draw. There isn't a list of, I have a list of all the attendees, and it's going to be sort of a random pick, but bear with me on that one, but we'll make it happen. So a little bit about Lucrum Trading Systems. We are a provider of both discretionary and automatic trading tools for NinjaTrader 7 and 8, as well as a trading education and system development consulting company. We're objectively oriented to providing our customers with the resources and tools necessary to empower profitable trading. We've been in business for over 5 years now, and Lucrum really sort of was the brainchild of basically having something that I was looking for in the marketplace in my trading that didn't really exist. So I sought out to actually develop these myself. And by doing so, I created some of these products that people have shown interest in. And as such, Lucrum has been born. From there, we have a few different retail software to offer, as well as our consulting side of business, which is basically going in and helping people develop their own trading systems. When they have their systems developed, we'll go in to make sure that they're operating as they should, testing for optimization and curve fit strategies and things like that. So a little bit about me. My name is Phil Antonson. I am the founder of Lucrum, and I am a trader of over 14 years. I am a hedge fund, or I was a hedge fund analyst and trader specializing in the metals and energy sectors. I went to school in the University of Wisconsin for finance and economics. And I'm the founder of Primerial Capital Asset Management Company, and I currently live in Fort Myers, Florida. And you might think it's warm here, but today is the second day this year that I had to turn on my furnace. So it is brisk today. So what is the Ruby system? Ruby is a visually oriented trading aid which allows you to quickly and easily identify trading opportunities by systematically analyzing price momentum, breakout ranges, and deviations in price. This toolbox of trading resources provides visual cues as to when trading opportunities present themselves. So here in the next couple slides, we are going to go over a couple different charts here and showcase some of the preliminary features before we jump into some live charts, and then we'll go over some of the indicator parameters in more detail. So this is the color-coded bars. This is sort of the quintessential Ruby aspect, which gives you the green or magenta bars based on the trend direction and price. This uses not just the trending in price, but also momentum and breakout ranges to help determine what the overall trend is going to be. We have the gray bars, which are sort of the intermediary bars, which function as a buffer between the long and short trends. And as well as for some of the more sideways markets, here in the bottom left, you can see a little bit of the gray bars that form in that narrow channel of not too much movement there. And next, let's look at the trade trigger signals. The trade trigger signals is when the system looks at different components and says there is a strong likelihood that we expect price to continue in this direction. So it will paint these trade trigger signals. In the bottom left, we have a couple of the green arrows. In the top middle, we have a short red arrow. And in between those, we have a couple of the yellow ones. So the solid green is a long signal that is the best the system has to say there is a strong likelihood that there is going to be a continuation in this direction. Whereas with the red one, there's a strong likelihood or continuation. Price is going to move in that direction as well. In between them, we have the yellow arrows, and those are the extended trade trigger signals. And what those are is when you have the initial signal, say it's the initial green for long and red for short, those continuations are saying there's also a strong likelihood of a continuation in that direction, but because the price has already moved in favor of the initial trend or the signal, you can also use these as a take profit or even scaling into a position. So when you have it as a take profit, it might not be the full breadth of the run, but at least you'll capture some of the movement. If you use it as a scaling method, you can use that buffer of already profits in that initial trade that you can cushion a little bit if it moves against you to scale in to get the full run that the system identifies. And here we have the color-coded EMA and MMA. The EMA is just your standard run-of-the-mill exponential moving average. The only difference with this one is it's color-coded and it factors in both slope and momentum to give you the different colors that you can see here. We have the green for upwards trend. We have yellow as sort of the transitionary or sideways, and red for short. And then we have close to price is the MMA, and the MMA is a modified moving average that uses linear regression to form that moving average. That is a very fast-acting moving average, and I like using them a lot more than your standard EMA or SMA for short periods, simply because it responds to price really quickly. And with this one, you have that's color-coded as well to help you capture the different transitions in price very quickly without being too laggy like a lot of different moving averages are. All right, and here we have a few different panels and examples of the pattern identification features. First, on the left panel, we have a rising wedge, and the rising wedge is sort of a triangle formation based on the highs and lows of that range that form into a point, and the rising wedge is considered to be a bearish breakout. And in this example here, we'll do a little bit more in the live charts. I know here it's a little bit narrow to see exactly what it's looking at. On this next panel over, we have the descending channel. And the descending channel, like the rising wedge, is instead of a triangle, it's a channel that forms downwards. It hits the high and low ranges of that channel with the implied breakout range of the upside. So here you can see a little bit where it hit the top end of that descending channel, came back down a little bit, and then broke through in the upside. The third panel, we have the pennant. The pennant is a sort of like an equilateral triangle where the ends end up coming to a point, turns into sort of a sideways movement without much direction. Pennants don't have an implied bullish or bearish breakout signal, so that's why they're left yellow. Here we had a little bit of a fake out when that pennant formed. It looked like it was going to make a run to the upside. Didn't really work and had a lower breakout. And on the last panel, we have our ascending channel. And the ascending channel, just like the descending channel, is the inverse. So it's an upwards trending channel that has the implied breakout range to the lower side. We'll be doing a few of these different examples of pattern identification. All right, and here we have the Fibonacci extensions of Ruby. So the Fibonacci extensions are based on the high-low ranges of the previous form pivot points that extend the Fibonacci's outwards. These are perfect and very useful when it comes to identifying different potential support and resistance levels. They can also be used for stop losses as well as take profits. There's a whole lot of different resources about how to use Fibonacci's, and by utilizing these off of the high-low ranges, it automates a little bit so you can proactively see how those ranges are forming in real time. Once we get to the live charts, we'll do a few examples of that as well. Here we have the Vision Renko bars, and the Vision Renko bars are included with Ruby. And what makes these special or different than standard Renko bars is they are accurate and true to charting, whereas the standard Renko bars operate with a level of hindsight bias, and they will still paint regardless if price ever actually hit those points or not. The Vision Renko bars operate with the offset of 1 tick for each bar formation, as well as have the tails, which most Renko bars do not have that as well. These are backtest accurate. This is another thing that I didn't see in the marketplace. It wasn't operating as I wanted it to, so I ended up just creating my own. Some people really like using Renko bars for their charting. I like using it more as a reference chart. Oh, is there a delay in the slide? Still on pattern identification. Is anybody else seeing a slide other than the Vision Renko?
Phil, it's working good for me on my end. I would suggest if anybody's having a slide delay, it could be the browser you're using or some sort of setting you might have, but I don't see anybody showing any other delay. So I think you're okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, hopefully a refresh or a different browser, it catches up eventually. Eventually there will be a recording of this presentation as well. So if it is a little bit wonky on your end in real time, I think within a few days, we'll have a recording sent out to everybody that registered. So we should be good there, and I apologize. All right, so that's the Vision Renko bar. Again, it's included with Ruby. It's one of those things that some people really like using it with Ruby. Others don't, but it's included. And I'll do a couple examples of that in a live chart as well. And with Ruby, everything is customizable, not only from a visual perspective, to fit your different charts. And I know that with the darker background of NT8, some of these elements are a little bit trickier to see. No worries there. You can customize every component to fit whatever color scheme you're looking to have, as well as all the different parameter settings to tweak the system specific for your trading needs. And one thing is very important is there is no repainting with the Ruby system. it's very important because some people will have historical charts of their examples, which will be not represented of what it would have happened in real time. So whenever I have any of these examples of historical charts, that's exactly what it would have developed as had it been, forming in real time. The only thing that does change as the chart progresses is going to be those pivot points. You can kind of see it's in the dark purple line where the Fibonacci extension and the pattern identification comes from. Those will be updated as the price progresses before those are locked out. And once they're locked out, they will not change or repaint at that point. The time frame on that chart is a 5-minute ES. And I believe this particular one, I think this is a 15-minute ES as well. So the last one is a 5-minute, this one is a 15-minute. So the beauty of Ruby is it really does fit a lot of different trading styles. So whether you're like a swing trader, short-term day trader, or a trend trader, there's different parameter settings within Ruby itself that you can sort of tweak it to fit it what you're looking to do. Whether you're looking to use all components of the system or only a select few, you can really kind of tailor make it to how you want to use it. So we're just going to do a quick thing about BloodHound, and we're going to look at the accessible outputs of Ruby and its integration with BloodHound. And with that, we're going to build ourselves a little system as well. So what is BloodHound? BloodHound is SharkIndicators tool, which allows for rapid system development from testing, reiterating your system to deployment. The beauty of it is there's no programming knowledge needed, so you don't need to be a programmer to use it. It's very easy to use with their logic matrix and output window to provide a complete WYSIWYG development system. And WYSIWYG is a sort of what you see is what you get development, and I'll explain that more in the logic window of BloodHound. And it's compatible with many different third-party indicators, including Ruby. So let's jump into a chart here. All right, so here we have a 5-minute ES. Actually, let's first go to a vision renko. Here is a vision renko, 4-tick vision renko on the ES without anything on it. And I'm going to go ahead and apply Ruby to it. So it's just as an indicator down to LTS Ruby. We'll keep all the parameters as default and click apply. And this is what you will see as soon as you load up Ruby on your chart. There's a few different tweaks you can make it to adjust your trading style, but just to give you a sense of what it looks like out of the box. I'll just scroll a little bit back on the chart. And again, this is the 4-tick vision renko on the ES. All right, and then next, let's jump into a 4-tick range. I had somebody message me earlier today about whether or not Ruby worked with a range chart. And I said I would do a quick demonstration of how it looks on this is a 4 range here. So again, back into the indicators, LTS Ruby, default parameters, and we'll let that load up here. So again, this is a 4 range on the ES. That. And last, let's just jump into our 5-minute ES. So again, let's just go back to LTS Ruby and load it onto the chart. And then now we're just going to walk through a couple of the different parameters and how it functions. So going back into indicators, and just so you guys can see it better, let's just change the text color to white. All right, so first we're going to look at the counter thresh. The counter thresh is where the pivot points are formed. So these pivot points here, by increasing that counter threshold parameter, you're going to have a less sensitive pivot point. So let's just go change that to a 5 and adjust the threshold to 5 as well. And the threshold parameter is going to look at how many ticks in that parameter value between 2 consecutive lows or 2 consecutive highs in order to form these patterns. So here we have a couple patterns forming here. We have an ascending channel, which is basically looking at this point to this point and this point to this point, which projected through, and it has the implied breakout of the downside. So it didn't really have much of a downside here, but let's zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it better. Sorry about that. So these channels are formed automatically from the pivot points, and this one is formed by looking at these 2 consecutive lows and these 2 consecutive highs to form that channel with the implied downwards breakout. And here we have our rising wedge, which is looking at that point here to that point here, and this point here to this point here, to form that rising wedge that has a downwards breakout as well, or an implied downwards breakout. Let's go ahead and all right. Then next, let's take a look at the 2 most important aspects, 2 most important parameter settings of Ruby, and that is the trend sensitivity and the trade trigger sensitivity. So let's just zoom back out here and take a look at how the chart looks with the colors, and let's crank up the trend sensitivity to 50, and what you're going to see is the overall macro trend is going to be a lot more uniform. A higher trend sensitivity value is going to be more beneficial for more of the trend trader. A little bit lower value with a 5-minute is probably more attuned to a scalper that's looking to just catch the precipice of some of those movements. So by increasing it to 50, now you can see that the uniformity is a little bit more in line, and it takes a lot more movement for that retracement to happen. So let's just find another spot just to get a better sense of it. Here looks good. So you can see with that higher trend sensitivity, it takes a little bit more movement before the reversal occurs. Whereas if you had it back at the lower value, say 18, it's going to be a lot more responsive for these movements. So instead of waiting for that to occur, that lower time frame is going to be a little bit more proactive in those signals. Next, we have the trade trigger sensitivity, and that is going to be the frequency and the deviation in price and the movement needed in order to paint the various trade triggers. So again, we'll go increase it, and there might not be any difference, a little bit. So it takes a little bit more information, takes a little bit more deviation in price in order for those trade trigger signals to occur. So like here, instead of being at that very first magenta bar, it took a few bars before it actually decided like, okay, there actually is going to be some movement going on, and it waited until it painted there. Whereas if you had a very low, it is going to paint a lot. So if you're a day trader that's looking just to capture very small movements a lot of times throughout the day, you can end up picking a very small trade trigger sensitivity and capturing a lot of these throughout the day, getting your movements and then getting out very quickly. So like the initial example is we have a couple of these, the first initial ones, the solid red ones, and then we have scattered throughout is these extended signals. And the extended signals like I mentioned earlier, is basically going to say that the run has already made a significant movement in that direction. However, there's a likelihood of a continuation, but there's also a possibility that that run is already exhausted and there's not that much more of a movement to happen. All right. So those are the two. There's a couple different parameter settings that I'm not going to quite cover today. A few different other ones is everything can be turned on or off depending on which components of the system you like using. So I'll just leave that as is and jump into BloodHound real quick. So what I did from indicators, you can go and go into SharkIndicators BloodHound, load it up as an indicator, as you can see here on the bottom, and then up at the top, we will load up our LTS Ruby template. And we'll look at our different solvers. So the solver is basically what it's looking at is the different outputs of the system and the indicators itself. So I'll walk through them very quickly. We have the bar direction, whether it's up or down. And it's worth noting that because we changed some of the parameter values on the chart itself, these aren't going to line up perfectly. As you can see here, there's some gaps where it's still green. And the reason for that is because the indicator value within the template is different. So I believe that was at an 18. So if we do that, there we go. So now we can see them line up. So when you're working with BloodHound and this template, you need to make sure that the indicator values within that template match. A couple quick questions before I get to these are charts from today, Nigel. They're not. I have my data disabled right now or turned off, so it's not continually updating. So these are just from maybe a couple hours ago. James, yes, the signals do calculate on bar close. And the BloodHound template available for NT8? Yes, it will be. All right, so that's bar direction. We have the modified moving average direction, which is the linear regression moving average here. We have all the entry trade signals. Again, because we changed some of the parameter values, they don't all match, but that's okay. We got most of them here. The extended signals, which are these yellow guys. The MMA, the modified moving average slope, which is a little bit different than the direction. You can see here there's a little bit of a transition between the actual slope and the direction that the color codes are. The direction is going to be faster than the slope itself. Next we have the simple EMA slope, the HR, the average true range, whether price is above or below. The pivot reversals, so this is going to be when the pivot points are updating and as they move with price, those will be each time that they update. Then we have the Fibonacci price comparison to the 50 mark. So let me just refresh my chart here. Because these update in real time, you need to refresh your chart for those to show up. So this is demonstrating every single time that price was below that 50% Fibonacci here, and when price was above it here. So that's kind of a neat little tool, and you can actually access all of the different Fibonacci ratios by going into the settings, and you can see all the plots for all the Fibonacci's are made accessible here. And last, we have the bar direction neutral, which are the gray transitionary bars. These are all various indicators that are part of Ruby, and the time frame in this example is a 5-minute ES, and the BloodHound template is included with Ruby, yes. So there'll be time more at the end for a full Q&A, so I'm trying to stay with the ones as I see them, but if there's any that I missed, I'll be sure to get them later on for the full Q&A. All right, so now we're going to go and build ourselves a simple automated trading system. So we're going to go back into BloodHound. We've got all of our solvers from their template, and we are going to build out our logic. So here is the logic panel. This is the what you see is what you get. Very simple to take your logic and create different things with it. So we're going to start by going and click new for our new logic, and this is either for a long or short signal. And we are going to use our existing solvers and say we want to use our entry trade signals. And we can simply connect these two, and now our system basically says every single time there is an entry trade signal, whether it's long or short, it's going to trigger and result in an output. This is obviously the most rudimentary and simple of systems, but we can go and build it out to be a little bit more complex. I mean, there's so much you can do with BloodHound. This is only going to really scratch the very surface of it, and we're going to build something that's very simple but functional and enough that you can go ahead and start testing it. So we're going to use our trade signal, and then we're going to use a node called an AND node, which is going to make sure that there are multiple conditions that need to be met. So we can filter out some of these entry trade signals with something like the EMA slope. So we can use our existing solvers, go to our EMA slope, and connect these as well. And that is going to trigger there. So now what this is doing is it's looking for both the trade trigger signal and the EMA slope before it results in an output. So you can see here it filtered out, a number of short trades there, filtered out a short there and short there simply because that slope was still in an upward slope when that occurred. And that's where you can use a whole bunch of different solvers and nodes to build out these, pretty complicated systems. For this, we'll keep it simple. So with this, we are going to look at, this is also with the template, the entry logic. So simple entry trade signal with the EMA slope results in an output. Now for the exit logic, because for every trade entry we need an exit, we're going to look at 2 consecutive gray bars, because the gray bars are going to represent that there is a transition or a sideways movement, as well as a reversal in bar direction. So what we're doing is we're looking at the neutral bars. We've got our look back node, which looks back 2 periods. So this is for two consecutive neutrals, or a bar direction reversal that results in an output here. And now that we have them, we can simply go back into our strategy analyzer. There it is. And we can go into SharkIndicators. We'll work with Raven because that's included with BloodHound. And we can use our template file, which, and once we have that, we have our entry logic and our exit logic. And we basically plug them in, plug in the time frame, the instrument that we want to trade with, and the time frame, and then click run, and that is it. You'll be able to simulate the trades that your automated system does, and that gives you the foundation for testing. And that about does it. So what you get with Ruby, you get the system for both NinjaTrader 7 and 8, as well as the Vision Renko bar type, a comprehensive use and trading manual which will outline all the different parameters, what they do, how to use it, as well as a few rule-based strategies. Free updates. There's not many updates. It's one of those things where every once in a while people will request different quality of life changes with the system itself, and those things are implemented periodically over time. So if there's anything that you want within Ruby that it doesn't have from a quality of life perspective, let me know, and those will be included in any future updates. Free support. for life. If there's anything that you need, if your machine ID is expired and you need a new one, I always make myself available, even if there's more in-depth support that you need. If you need help with the system, trading is a passion of mine. I've been doing it for many years, and I really enjoy talking with everybody and what they're using the system for. And I pride myself in offering a high level of support, and I try to be very timely with my support as well. But for webinar attendees, you will also receive 1 hour of free setup and consulting. So if you were to purchase the system, you will have a 1 hour of free setup and consulting. Ruby is a very intuitive and very straightforward system, but if there's anything that you have questions with, there's a free 1 hour allotment for you to use. And it will also include this webinar's BloodHound template, which has all of the outputs solvers of Ruby, as well as the entry and exit logic examples that I had. So you can go ahead and take this and backtest it yourself and see how it does, and play around with it, and it gives you something to work with. It's not a very advanced system, but it's enough to satiate the appetite at least. And if you're interested in both Ruby and BloodHound, there is a pretty sizable discount. It's $9.95 for both Ruby and BloodHound. So it's basically buy BloodHound and pay an extra $200 and get Ruby. Or if you're interested in Blackbird and Ruby, or all three of them, send me an email and I can definitely give you guys a bit of a discount on that as well. From this webinar, there's lucrumtradingsystems.com/webinar, which will have information about the webinar, as well as a few different offers. And there is a promo code of NTWebinar01 for $100 off Ruby. That's for you guys to use, and it's available to all webinar attendees if you're interested in the system. And we can also do our random draw. So this is going to be, I've got all of the attendees here, and it's going to be sort of a random Rochambeau because I don't have a numerical list of you guys. So it's going to be Jor SD. I will send me an email at phil@lucrumtradingsystems.com, and I will be sure to go ahead and get your license activated. So congratulations to you. If you're not here, I will be sure to get it to somebody else. So I'll look for a response from you. If you could type in chat too, Jor SD, Jor space SD. If you're in chat, if you could please say something just to know that you're here. If you're not, I'll give you a couple minutes during the Q&A. If you don't respond, I will go ahead and try somebody else. So this we'll open up for the Q&A. If anybody has any questions here for the next few minutes, we can go ahead and take care of them. And yeah. Well, thank you all very much for attending. I know it felt a little rushed, but hopefully you guys were able to take something. And if you guys have any further questions, you can reach me directly at the 602-888-3006 or direct via email at phil@lucrumtradingsystems.com. Yeah, I'll give it a few more minutes and then also check to see if Jor is here, and doesn't seem like it. Javier, yes, all the payment gateway through the website is via PayPal. Does BloodHound support multiple timeframes? Yeah, there's actually in BloodHound you can use multi-timeframe referencing for building out in that logic window. Do you need Blackboard or BloodHound to run this? Nope, Ruby is independent. It's independent as an indicator system. You can use it without BloodHound, without Blackboard. You don't need any of it. But in order to automate it, if you're looking to take the system itself and automate it, you will then need at least BloodHound. What was the phone number again? It's the one on the screen here. It's a 602-888-3006. How much is it? It's $4.95. However, with the promo code of NT Webinar 01, it's $100 off, so it ends up being $3.95. Joe, yeah, it is for both NinjaTrader 7 and 8. Would you need separate licenses if you're using one machine for development and another for live trading? Send me an email. That's perfectly fine. Generally, it will be one license per purchase, but for that, I know the feeling because this is my testing PC and I've got my live trading PC. So yeah, just send me an email and I'll definitely be able to get you multiple machine ID licenses. Using auto trader performance during open. Difference in auto trader performance during open and overnight. Overnight, generally, unless it's the European Open, there's very limited volatility. So you're not going to really see many swings, and especially if you incur a lot of sideways markets in a lower time frame, it might not be too great. But it really depends on the time frame in the system and what you're using. Will I help with install? Absolutely, Leo. Does it work with TradeStation? Unfortunately not, Joe. It's no future plans to integrate with TradeStation. It's something I thought about a lot. I don't use it, so I wouldn't be able to offer the support and the experience that I do with NinjaTrader. Hey, George, good. Thank you very much. Good to hear from you. Are the plots available to other programs like markers? I'm not familiar with markers. I'm not sure. Jeffrey, yes, there's a slight update, not too much. I'll pull that in and reach out to you there. Recent performance, Hans, there's really not any recent performance simply because Ruby is not really an independent automated system. Richard, the discount code will be in the purchase. It should say like coupon code during the checkout process. Yep, Joe, all commodity markets, corn, beans, copper, gold, oil. Just gonna do a couple last questions that are coming in, and then I'll do another drawing because it doesn't look like our winner is here, which is unfortunate. NQCL Russell. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a single particular market that it doesn't particularly work in. It's just a matter of how you have the system tailored. Yeah, it can be fully automated, Joe, with BloodHound. Dan, just a standard data feed will work with Ruby. You do need tick level for Vision Renko, however. All right, drawing number 2. I'm gonna do this and Lamont Flowers. Lamont, if you could please send a message in chat. You are the winner of the you're the winner of the Ruby system. So if you're here, please let me know. That's Lamont Flowers. Awesome, cool. Lamont is here. Congratulations. Please send me an email at phil@Lucrum Trading Systems.com, and I'll be sure to get you there. And Jor, if you're here, if I missed you, you can send me an email as well. We'll have 2 winners today if you're here. All right, that about does it. If there's any questions that I missed, please send me an email, and I will be sure to answer them as timely as I can, and we'll go from there. So again, thank you all for attending. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, NinjaTrader, for hosting this event for me. I appreciate everything. And again, any questions, reach out, and I'll be here to help. Thanks, everybody.
I'd like to give a special thank you to Phil of Lucrum Trading Systems for a great presentation. Everyone in attendance here today will receive an on-demand recording of today's event. Please keep an eye out for that email. NinjaTrader Ecosystem is pleased to sponsor these weekly vendor events as a value-added service for our clients. If you find value in these events, we hope that you'll attend them on a regular basis. We would like to remind you the information provided in this was that of Phil's of Lucrum Trading Systems and not of NinjaTrader's. All information was for educational purposes and should not be construed as trading advice. Again, we appreciate the time you spend with us. Enjoy the rest of your day and happy trading from everyone here at the NinjaTrader ecosystem.